Imagine a man so powerful that he could defeat monsters with his bare hands, wrestle beasts that terrified entire kingdoms, and descend alive into the realm of the dead. His name was Hercules. To the Greeks, Hercules was the ultimate hero, a man whose strength seemed almost divine. But behind that strength was a terrible tragedy. Hercules was the son of Zeus, king of the gods, an immortal woman, Alcmene. Because of this, Zeus's jealous wife, Hera, hated Hercules from the moment he was born. Hera would spend much of his life trying to destroy him, and eventually, her hatred led to the darkest moment of his life. Hercules was overcome by a terrible madness. In his madness, he committed a horrifying act against his own family. When his mind finally cleared, Hercules was devastated. He wanted to die. Instead, he sought a way to atone for what he had done. The Oracle of Delphi told him that he must serve King Eurystheus of Mycenae. And Eurystheus gave Hercules a series of tasks that were supposed to be impossible. At first, there were 10. But because Eurystheus refused to count 2 of them, Hercules was forced to complete 12. These became known forever as the 12 labors of Hercules. The first task seemed simple. Hercules had to kill the Nemean Lion, a monstrous beast that terrorized the region of Nemea. But this was no ordinary lion. Its hide was so tough that ordinary weapons could not penetrate it. Hercules first tried to kill it with his arrows. They bounced harmlessly from its body. He struck it with his club. Still, the beast survived. So Hercules changed his strategy. He chased the lion into its cave and blocked one of the entrances. Then, armed with nothing but his incredible strength, Hercules confronted the beast. The struggle was brutal, but eventually, Hercules wrapped his powerful arms around the lion and strangled it. The first labor was complete, but Hercules discovered that even his victory had a reward. Using the lion's own claws, he cut through its impossible hide and turned it into armor. From that moment onward, the skin of a Nemean lion became one of Hercules' most recognizable symbols. His second task was even worse. Hercules traveled to the swamp of Lerna, where lived the Hydra, a gigantic serpent-like creature with multiple heads. But the Hydra possessed a terrifying ability. Whenever Hercules cut off one of its heads, 2 more grew back. Hercules attacked with his sword. 1 head fell, then 2 appeared. He cut again. More heads emerged. The battle seemed impossible to win. But Hercules was not alone. His nephew Iolaus helped him. Whenever Hercules severed a head, Iolaus burned the wound with a torch, preventing new heads from growing. One by one, Hercules destroyed the Hydra. Finally, he buried the immortal central head beneath a massive rock. The Hydra was defeated, but Eurystheus refused to count the labor as legitimate because Hercules had received help. The king was already looking for ways to make Hercules' victory meaningless, and the challenges were only becoming harder. For his third labor, Hercules was ordered to capture the Ceryneian Hind. It was a beautiful sacred deer belonging to the goddess Artemis. Its horns were golden, and its hooves were said to be made of bronze. Hercules was not allowed to kill it, so he pursued the animal across the wilderness. For nearly an entire year, the hero followed the swift creature. Finally, Hercules managed to capture it. But there was another problem. Artemis was furious that her sacred animal had been taken. Hercules explained that he was acting under the orders of Eurystheus. Artemis eventually allowed him to continue. Hercules returned to Eurystheus with the living hind. Another labor complete. The fourth labor sent Hercules into the mountains to capture the Erymanthian Boar. The creature was enormous, savage, and powerful enough to destroy anything in its path. Hercules chased the boar through the mountains until he drove it into deep snow. Exhausted and trapped, the animal could no longer escape. Hercules seized it and bound it. Then he carried the enormous beast all the way back to Eurystheus. When the king saw Hercules approaching with the terrifying boar, he was so frightened that he reportedly hid inside a large bronze storage jar. The hero had completed another impossible task, but the worst was still ahead. The fifth labor was unlike anything Hercules had faced before. There was no monster to fight. Instead, Hercules had to clean the stables of King Augeas. The stables had not been cleaned for years. They contained an almost unimaginable amount of accumulated waste, and Eurystheus demanded that Hercules clean them in a single day. It seemed impossible, so Hercules did not try to clean them by hand. He studied the land around the stables. Then he diverted the courses of two rivers. The rushing water thundered through the filthy stables, washing away years of accumulated waste. By the end of the day, the stables were clean. Hercules had succeeded through intelligence rather than brute strength. But once again, Eurystheus refused to give him full credit. The king claimed Hercules had been working for payment. The hero continued anyway. Next came a flock of monstrous birds. They lived around the lake Stymphalia and terrorized the surrounding countryside. Their feathers were said to be made of metal, and they could use them as deadly weapons. Hercules needed a way to drive the birds into the open. The goddess Athena gave him a magical device that produced a terrifying noise. Hercules used it to frighten the birds from their hiding place. As the enormous flock filled the sky, Hercules raised his bow. Then he began shooting. Many of the birds fell. The survivors fled far away. The countryside was safe once again. For the seventh labor, Hercules was sent to Crete. There he had to capture a magnificent but violent bull. The creature was enormous and uncontrollable, but Hercules confronted it directly. He wrestled the beast and eventually subdued it. Then he transported it back to Greece. Once again, Hercules had accomplished the impossible, but Eurystheus was not finished with him. The eighth labor was among the most horrifying. King Diomedes possessed 4 savage horses, but these were not ordinary horses. They were trained to eat human flesh. Hercules traveled to Thrace to capture them. At first, the animals were uncontrollable, but Hercules defeated their master, Diomedes. According to the myth, Hercules then fed Diomedes to his own horses. After tasting their master's flesh, the animals became calmer. Hercules bound them and brought them back to Eurystheus. Another nightmare had been overcome. But the next labor would take Hercules into the territory of an entirely different kind of warrior. Hercules was ordered to obtain the magical belt of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons. He sailed to the land of the legendary warrior women. At first, the mission seemed surprisingly peaceful. Hippolyta was impressed by Hercules and agreed to give him the belt. But Hera intervened. She spread a rumor among the Amazons that Hercules intended to abduct their queen. The Amazons armed themselves and attacked. A battle erupted. Hercules believed Hippolyta had betrayed him and killed her. He took the belt and escaped. What might have been a peaceful mission had become another tragedy. For his 10th labor, Hercules had to travel to the far western edge of the known world. There lived Geryon, a terrifying giant described as having 3 bodies. Geryon possessed a magnificent herd of red cattle. Hercules had been ordered to steal them. To reach the distant land, Hercules crossed enormous distances. Along the way, he even created a famous landmark, the Pillars of Hercules, traditionally associated with the Strait of Gibraltar. Eventually, Hercules reached Geryon's territory, but the giant would not surrender his cattle. A battle followed. Hercules defeated Geryon and the guardians of the herd. Then he began the long journey home, driving the cattle across the world. 10 labors were now complete, but Eurystheus still demanded 2 more, and these would take Hercules farther than he had ever gone. For the 11th labor, Hercules was ordered to retrieve the golden apples of the Hesperides. The apples were sacred treasures belonging to the gods. They were guarded by the Hesperides and, in some traditions, a terrifying dragon named Ladon. But Hercules did not even know where the garden was. His search led him across distant lands. Eventually, he encountered the great Titan Atlas. Atlas knew where the apples were. Hercules asked him to retrieve them. Atlas agreed, but only if Hercules temporarily held up the heavens while he went to the garden. Hercules accepted. He took the enormous burden upon his shoulders. Atlas returned carrying the golden apples. But then he tried to leave Hercules holding the heavens forever. Hercules remained calm. He asked Atlas to take the heavens back for just a moment while Hercules adjusted his position. Atlas agreed, and the moment Atlas took the burden, Hercules seized the apples and walked away. The 11th labor was complete. Only one remained, and it would be the most terrifying of them all. Hercules' final task was almost impossible. He had to descend into the underworld and bring back Cerberus. Cerberus was the monstrous three-headed dog that guarded the gates of the realm of the dead. No living hero was supposed to enter the underworld and return. But Hercules did. He descended into the darkness. There he encountered the spirits of the dead and the rulers of the underworld. Eventually, Hercules stood before Hades. The god of the dead agreed to let Hercules take Cerberus, but only if Hercules could capture the beast without using weapons. Hercules approached the three-headed monster. Cerberus attacked. The creature's three jaws snapped toward him. Its serpent-like tail whipped through the air. But Hercules held his ground. He wrapped his powerful arms around Cerberus and wrestled the enormous beast into submission. Then Hercules began the journey back to the world of the living. When Eurystheus saw Cerberus approaching, he was terrified. The king had demanded an impossible task. Hercules had completed it. He had entered the land of the dead, and he had returned alive. The 12 labors were finally complete. Hercules had defeated monsters, captured sacred animals, crossed impossible distances, overcome kings and giants, and even entered the underworld. But the greatest battle was never against a lion, a hydra, or a giant. It was against himself. Hercules had begun his journey as a broken man, carrying the weight of an unforgivable tragedy. The labors did not erase what had happened. They did something different. They gave Hercules a path forward. Through suffering, courage, intelligence, and endurance, he transformed his guilt into something greater. And eventually, Hercules would become more than a legendary warrior. He would become one of the few mortals in Greek mythology to achieve immortality. His story survived for thousands of years because Hercules was not simply a man who was strong enough to defeat monsters. He was a man who suffered, fell, struggled, and continued. And perhaps that is the real meaning of the 12 labors. The greatest hero is not the one who never falls. It is the one who finds the strength to rise again.